when we're live streaming, it's not coming up like I wanted it to. And of course, nobody's here but Monique. And let's see, Clayton. Clayton wasn't at taxes last night, but Cole and Jonathan were, and Hillary was. So I saw them last night. Hillary's got a long way to drive. So does Terry, I guess. But Cole can walk here in 5 minutes. Jonathan probably can drive here in 5 minutes. I guess that's my boys. Well, I've got PowerPoint on here somewhere. Monique, if you see it. Oh, I hear it is. I got it. I want to look at PowerPoint for just a minute on this chapter we're on standard cost. And we've looked at a lot of problems yesterday. Uh, Monique had all those problems. So I feel like Monique is pretty good on standard costing. Now, I guess that's chapter 7. Was that chapter 7, standard costing? Because these are not labeled. Just want to look at a few points on standard costing. First off, setting standards, the appropriateness, attainability, trends in standards. When we're talking about standards too, uh, if you get an 18-inch tire from one company, it should match an 18-inch tire from another company. Now, some things are not standard in our automobile industry. Maybe one rim won't, a Chevrolet rim won't transfer to a Ford vehicle, the rim itself. Uh, the U.S. bolts and nuts should be standard. And then you got the metric system, which is another standard. And you have to know which wrenches you have to fit your particular car, metric or what have you. Probably if you buy a Honda, it would be the metric system. If you buy a GMC, it would be the American system for tools. So we've got all kinds of standards. I think batteries are pretty much standard. They're going about any car. Uh, a certain size battery may fit a certain size Dodge, a certain size Ford, a certain Chevrolet, and so forth. Uh, but materials and labor and overhead is what we were trying to set standards for. And materials used, you can see, is quantity, quality, and price, and wherever they're from. All right, this is probably some kind of invoice, and I can't see it well enough for certain. Rear wheel tire and tube, front wheel tire and tube, what have you. But anyway, looks like a purchase order. Labor standards, I think it depends on where you are in the country. The minimum wage, higher in West Virginia than some other states. The federal government, some of the politicians want minimum wage to go $15 an hour. Uh, Monique, one of my accounting students that was there last night, she graduated last year and she's volunteering this year. She's only making $15 an hour. Now multiply $15 an hour times, let's say she works 40 hours. She works more, but if you got a calculator, $15 an hour times 40 hours. And then multiply that by 52 weeks. All right, she's making $31,000 a year with no benefits, and Mr. Imo gave her the address to the auditors in West Virginia. They're wanting to hire a bunch of students, and they'll do an internship in Charleston this summer, and they would start you out at almost $42,000 an hour. And you would have travel money, you would have insurance, you would have federal government benefits. Okay? So we encourage Nicole to try for that. But our other students pretty much all have jobs or know what they're doing. Right? So labor is not standard all over the whole country, but I know I worked at Chrysler one summer, and I think pretty much the standard wage rate for Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors was all about $7 an hour at that time. That was back in 67 and 68 between my semesters at college. All right. But the car industry has come down south. So minimum wage is $20 in Detroit. They've got a Toyota plant in Louisville, Kentucky. Minimum wage might be $15 minimum. That's set by the standard, the car factory, not by the government in any way. And we have our overhead for borrow and fix. Feel like we didn't work on that a lot, but you do know what predetermined overhead rates are. You've had them over and over and over. My pen must have got lost in a book or something. Standard materials for a bike, standard labor components for bike, manufacturing overhead, verbal. Talking about a bike here, I have a nephew in the Detroit area, and he got disabled. He was a carpet layer, so he's on disabled Social Security. But he can make so much money, so he puts bikes together. He might order a bike and get it for $80. When he puts it together, it may be worth $120. But he puts a motor on it. He gets about a $100 motor and puts it on an $80 bike. So now he's got $180 in that bike, and he sells it for $400 and $500. So he makes double his money on a bike. He sells a lot of them. That's just make extra money. But his materials that he gets is standard, and even his motors and so on. All right. Variance is between actual cost and standard cost. And this is actual times actual. We've seen that, and standard cost of a product. And we've looked at favorable and unfavorable. And we've looked at this is actual price, actual quantity, standard price, standard quantity. We've looked at that, we've looked at problems. And we set this up. I set it up in a little bit different way. I'm gonna see if I can find my pen, special pen to write on this. Maybe. Got caught up in my accounting book as a marker. Okay, guys, I hope you start coming to class. I'm going to have to be enforced to make a new rule. If attendance is better on Tuesday, that new rule will be. You'll have 5 points a day, or maybe 10 in class as your test. You got to be in class to get those 10 points. Now, I hope I don't have to come up with a rule like that. Whereas Monique gets 10 points on Tuesday, Monique gets 10 points on Thursday, she gets 10 points next Tuesday, 10 points next. That'd be 40. then her test she does is 60. And if you don't show up, you couldn't get over 60. I don't want to put something like that into play. So please try to attend since you've missed all week. Okay? All right. That way we can practice some activities in class. Okay, we did this, and this was a price variance. The difference here was that price variance, and the difference over here was the quantity variance when we were talking about materials. When you're talking about labor, you're talking about, we'd be doing this for labor, we'd be doing the rate variance and the efficiency variance. Now, here is something that's bothered me. I may go back and try to find a problem. When you calculate those variances, why it's bothering me is it what we purchased or what we used? Which one did we use? Do you remember, Monique? I'm thinking to do our variances, we had to use materials used, I think. All right, that was the labor. Now, the overhead, we had a 2 variance, 3 variance, and 4 variance method. We had to do variable and fixed overhead. We had to compare actual overhead. And here we had standard, which was a predetermined rate. Fixed overhead is fixed. And even predetermined rate is fixed. All right, so here's our 2 overhead variances. These are the 2 most important and the 2 I wanted you to learn. And this was variable overhead variance. I want you to take the actual minus the budget. This has to be given. Standard price times actual quantity, standard price times standard quantity, variable overhead, spending variance, and efficiency variance. That is the 2 overhead variance method. You can see your spending variance may be caused by price differences, may be caused by shrinkage or waste. All right, here we have spending variance and volume variance or fixed overhead. All right, we've been looking at that one. I'm never interested in that one. This is actual, this is always actual times actual and standard times standard, which gives you 1 variance, total variance. We've done that. Even in labor and materials, we've done the 1. When I take you to the left side, you take these differences. 2 variance, budget variance, volume variance. 3 variance. We had to do spending, efficiency, volume. And we did a few journal entries. I want you to or maybe I'll try something else. If you don't attend, you take a normal test like Monique does. If Monique attends, I'll let her have 2 pages of notes for every day she attended and you all were absent. We'll do something. I will make a difference. And then here is your variable overhead, the efficiency variance, spending variance. If it's an immaterial variance, you just put it cost of goods sold. If it's material, we prorate it as we did one problem the other day. I don't think we went over into this mix variance. We've always done price variances, and We've done quantity variance, but here you have a mix and a yield. We haven't done those. We'll probably need to go back and review that. We had the same thing with labor. All right, that's about it for a PowerPoint. That's about it for a PowerPoint on that chapter. Now, I'm not going to do a PowerPoint on chapter 16. We're going to look at chapter 16. I mean, golly, 7. I'll get there, 7 or 8. All right, 8 is the master budget. All right, and 8 is what we need to talk about today. Now, I have mentioned budgets. We got a federal budget. I think it's due, I don't know if it's October when, but Trump's already proposed a federal budget. We have a state budget in West Virginia. I believe it's July 1 to June 30. I think our college budget is July 1 to June 30. Where does our money come from? Our money comes from grants, tuition, and sometimes money comes from a foundation. People donate. People have donated, I think, $500,000 toward a new dorm. People donated. The Coast donated $600,000 when this building was remodeled, put in all the electronics. All right. So where does our money come from, and where does it go? That's what a budget is. And I've never had to be on a budget. Thankful, always had enough money to pay all my bills. Back when I first got married and I was younger, I should have went on a budget. I could have saved money if I went on a budget. And I had a student one time. She spent so much. She had 2 kids at home. And her budget for food was so much a month. When she spent that, what do you do for the last 2 or 3 days if you run out of food? I guess she had brown beans and cornbread or something as a backup. But food budgets have to be a little flexible. Some months have maybe 30 days or maybe 28. Many have 31. So you got to be a little flexible. But if you did a budget, it would surprise you how much money you waste. Everybody wastes money, but we need to do a budget. Now, when you're thinking about a budget, it's another thing I can't write on here. I thought I could write on these things. Maybe I can't. Show you something real quick. Now, Ben Franklin said, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Okay? A lot of people will not walk over pennies on the sidewalk and pass them up. But some people, a penny is so little, they will pass it up. But 1 penny. Now, I grew up hearing sayings. I don't know if these came from religions or where, but it says eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may be dead. Have you heard that, Monique? All right, have you heard this of Ben Franklin? A penny saved is a penny earned. Of course, now in taxes, I would tell you, if you find a penny and you're not taxed on it, it's worth 2 pennies. Because you've got to go out there and work in the labor force and make 2 pennies to clear 1. Now, time you take out 25% federal tax, 7.3 Social Security tax, whatever state of West Virginia tax is, 5 or 6%, pretty soon you're paying out 50% of your payday in taxes. So if I make 2 pennies and pay out 50%, I've got 1. So To revise, Ben Franklin said, a penny saved or a penny you find is 2 pennies earned. Now, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may be dead. This is my son. He's a doctor of chiropractor. He can make 100,000 a year, or he can make 200,000 a year. Him and his wife blow it and spend it. They pay late fees. They pay overcharge fees at the bank. He pays a late house payment every month of $65. Late payment. But if he paid it a week earlier, he would save $65. So they're eating and drinking and being merry. They've traveled all over the world. But he lost everything. I had to help him get some of it back and get started over. They are wasteful. They are liberals. And that is not the way you should live. Now, eat, drink, and be merry, yes. But don't waste everything. For tomorrow you may be alive. Now, Ben Franklin, on the other hand, I would hate for anybody to call you a tightwad. Okay? However you spell wad. And you don't want to be a miser. You can't take it with you. But you should save. Find an area in between eat, drink, and be merry, and Ben Franklin. You deserve some pleasures from the money you receive from working. But an old professor told me one time that you should have 6 months of savings. If your bills are $2,200 a month, and you should have that much put back in case of sickness, unemployment. It'd probably be $13,200 if I multiplied it out. But you should have that much in savings for a rainy day. Okay? Because all of us in life have rainy days. So that also works into budgeting, especially if you are doing a home budget. And many of you need to do a home budget. All of you will be married someday. Hopefully, that's what you want. And you need to do a budget. Okay. Now, we talked about where you get information from. And first thing we got to predict is sales. We got to predict sales. It should have been the first one on here. The sales budget. And I'm missing it somewhere. It's on top of your flow chart on page 306. All right. How do we predict sales? It depends on the economy. If I were selling mine equipment in West Virginia, I would know if mines had closed down or mines had opened up. If I were selling mine equipment in West Virginia, I would ask my current customers what they might be ordering next year in mining equipment. I will get an external full feel for how much my sales should be. I would know what the economy of West Virginia was. Sometimes you've got to know the political climate. So external on page 307, local, domestic, and global economic conditions. Completion and market share levels. Political changes. Style or fashion trends. Selling price changes. Now, some of these things, what they're talking about, trends change. I would not want to start a store in West Virginia just with polyester paint for people. Polyester was a thing a long time ago, and they got snags easy. You remember polyester, Mohammed? Uh, oh, when I was teaching, I even had a polyester suit. The jacket, and they were just no good. So if I dropped ashes on polyester, it would melt a hole in my pants. Okay. So polyester, all right. Now, other trends and fashions. Now, competition. Well, it's fine if you got the only McDonald's in town with no competition. You got the whole fast food market. And then Wendy's moves in, and Burger King moves in, and Taco Bell moves in. Pizza places move in. And you got competition, don't you? So your sales is not going to be as much. Same if I'm selling mining equipment. If I'm Joy Manufacturing Company in Bluefield, selling mining equipment, I may have other machine companies coming in selling mining equipment. So that will reduce my sales forecast. Okay. All right. I remember when 8-track movies came out. Now, the movies were on a big old 8-track. An 8-track was about that size, but a lot thinner. You remember the 8-tracks, don't you? You don't remember 8-track music? You remember cassette music, though, don't you? Okay. So we went to music has changed. We went to disc, didn't we? In your automobile, or you go to Siri, or you go to iTunes, or wherever to get your music. Or Spotify, or something other, or Pandora. You can go different places to get your music. Okay. So the music industry has competition. All right. I'm just trying to tell you things change. Now, but when these movies first came out, you had the machine at home to play your DVD. We'll call it DVD, but it was the old 8-track, the old VCR is what I'm thinking about. VCR. You remember that? Okay. All right. If you had a VCR store in town, you were making a good money. People rented those movies. But then all of your zipping markets started carrying movies. Other people come in starting movies. Then they bring in Redbox to Walmart to rent your movies. Well, all that was good, a lot of competition. And then along came demand and many, many other ways to get movies that these movie rental places are about out of business, aren't they? And there used to be one movie place down in Knoxville. It was the biggest in the country. Can't think of it, but Blockbuster. Biggest in the country in renting movies. They're gone. All right, the new kind of competition. So look at internal and external factors. Now, the master budget has to have sales. Now, sales, we collect money from sales. So look at the bottom of page 308. In January, we're going to sell 30,000. But now, March, we're going to sell 33. And we're going to sell these for $5 a piece. Well, our sales dollars is easy to look at. Our sales dollars, now we get cash, that's cash. If we had cash sales, that's all cash. But if we sell on credit, we got to figure up those lag times. All right, we will be in a minute, but production budget, 308. All these budgets lead up to a cash budget. And on a test, you will have a cash budget from this chapter. So here for your production budget, you got to know what your beginning inventory is, how many you want left, and how many you've got to produce. So look down at the middle of page 309, just January. Excuse me. Look at January. So we want to sell 30,000 units. We want 1,400 left in engine inventory. So we got to produce 31.4. But now if we had 1,500 of those in beginning inventory, we only have to produce 29, excuse me, 29.9. Okay, so we've got to make enough products in production to meet our sales forecast. Now, if we're going to make 29,900 units, we got to purchase some stuff, don't we? We got to add materials, labor, and overhead. So look at page 310, January. All right, we want to purchase 29,900 units. Pounds needed per unit is 1.1. So we've got to order 32,890 pounds. Now we want to keep 31.7 in engine inventory. We've already got beginning inventory of 32.89. The total pounds of steel to purchase is 32,708. If you got a price, you can multiply. So that's the cost of materials to go in our budget. Then we're going to do the cost of labor on page 311. Units to be produced, 29.9. That takes standard hours allowed, 0.025. We'll need to multiply 60 minutes times decimal 0.25. So it looks like it would only take a minute and a half then per unit if we calculated right. Okay, total hours allowed, 747.50. Average wage is $14. So our labor for January is $10,465. Now our overhead for January. We take depreciation, indirect labor, and utilities and taxes. Now for January, that adds up to be $14,304. All right, so far we've got materials, labor, and overhead going into production. All right, now look at page 312. We've got period cost. Look at January. We've got supplies, depreciation, miscellaneous, selling, and administrative. This is all period cost. It is not materials, labor, and overhead. But for January, that's $18,600. All right. Now look at the bottom of page 312. Capital budget. Are we going to buy any fixed equipment? Assets that last more than a year. That's a capital budget. Or buy land or building. For January, it says, yes, we want to buy 28,000 machinery. We're not going to pay for it in January, though. We're going to pay for it in February, aren't we? All right, now the cash budget. Now, I want to show you the cash budget first. Let's go to page 318. January. We've got beginning cash of 10. Cash collections, we'll look at that in a minute, 141. This is total cash available. Now, that's where your money comes from. Monique and other people in the class, you know where your money comes from. I got a student in principals. Her money comes a little bit from scholarships. She works 25 hours a week out at Ryan's Steakhouse in Princeton. That's where money comes from. And tips. She lives by herself. She has to pay all of her bills. And those bills can be water, TV, and sewer, and garbage, and electricity, and gas. It can be a number of things. All right. Where's your money come from? Where does it go? Now, disbursements for a business. Accounts payable, we got to figure that out. Now, we did the direct labor budget for $10,000. We did the overhead budget for $14,000. Now, your accounts payable takes care of materials. Now, you get down there, total disbursements. You've also got selling administrative. We've got excess cash of $35,000. Well, we want to keep 10 on hand. So we've got $25,875, too much. That ought to be invested. That ought to be invested into some kind of T-bills. You should be able to get interest on it. Now, if we go over here to a month when we have low cash, luckily we had cash all along. We've had cash all along. But if we didn't, we'd have to plan on borrowing. So let's go all the way back to see how we calculate this cash collections and accounts payable. And let's look at page 314. I want you to follow this, Monique, and anybody watching, and we're going to practice a little problem in a minute. Now, you got to follow this carefully. Now, without reading, in November, we sold $125,000, okay? And if you would, Monique, multiply 125,000 times 8% for decimal 8. That don't sound right. No, that don't sound right. Going to have to read it, I guess. What do we multiply 125,000 to get 1740? Let's try 20%. Okay? Try 20% of 125,000, Monique. What's that give you? 25? Yeah, that is 1/5 of 125,000. All right, that forces us to look at the information then. Then blame it. Let's go back to page 313. All right. Down at the bottom of the very bottom paragraph. 2 paragraphs. This company has determined that the collection patterns for this company is equal to the customers. All right. 20% will be for cash and 80% will be for credit. So 20% we took down for cash, and we got to know what the sales are for. Now, the 80% on credit, the 40% of the credit customers who are allowed the discount pay on the month of the sale. You get a discount. Now that's what we're involved with, those figures there. And I don't know what your 20%, 80% on credit. 40% of those taking a 2% discount. The other 6% not taking a discount. And out of those 6%, not taking a discount, 20% sales for the month, 50% month following, 29% in the second month, and 19%. 20% in the month of sale, 15% in the month following the sale, 50% of the credit sales. Now that's what's confusing. For November, I just don't know how they've got this set up there. And what you've got to do, okay, Monique, try this. 125,000 times decimal 80, and then times decimal 6, and then times decimal 29. They'll give you 17. All right, that's just a lot of percents you got to work out, because it tells you up here out of that $125,000 you're going to collect 20 down. That means the 80 was on credit. That's why we're using the decimal 8. All right. Now, if 40% was taking a discount, 60 didn't. So we multiply by 60. All right. Now, $29 is taking the discount. But we got to sort out some simple way to get the decimal 80, the decimal 6, and the decimal 29. I don't like what they're doing. And then when you go down to get February, you got decimal 80 times decimal 60 times decimal 5. Then when you get March, all right, so we're going to have to look at that. But those are called lag months, and it's not as hard as it looks. Okay, so we're going to try a little exercise. I'll work it up here for you. We're going to just do a cash collection, not production, not materials. So we're going to look at page 332. All right, we want to do another sales budget. Well, I cannot find the cash collection budget that I want. All right, number 27, finally. Number 27. All right, take a minute and read that, if you would, Monique. Let's make number 27 make sense for everybody. Okay, the treasurer of this court needs to estimate cash collections from accounts receivable. Now, 40% of the company's customers pay in cash. All right, now keep that in mind. That means 60% are credit. We've got to sort this out first. This is cash, credit. %40 of the company's customers pay in cash, and the rest are credit. Now, the collection pattern for the credit customers is 20% in the month of the sale and 80% in the following month. All right. Now that's 20%, Monique, of 60% and 80% of 60%. So what is 20 times 60? Is that 12%? Now what is 80% of 60%? See, that makes 60, don't it? Now, that's the way I'd rather do it. Now, for August sales, we're going to do September. All right, for September sales, let's just do September, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And we can look at their way, my way. And for September, 80,000. How much of that do I get in cash? So multiply that 80,000 times 40%, Monique. Now, of the credit sales, we collect also 12% this month. Now, 60%, 12% are collect this month. So what is, oh boy, the credit sales? If we collected 32 down, the credit sales would be what, 48? 48. 32, we've got in cash. Now 48,000, multiply that times 12%. 51.
57.
Now I'm going to add these two together, 37, 760. Now this 48%, multiply that, Monique, times that last number you had, 48,000. 124. Now I just want you to remember those numbers. Now we're going to go look at PowerPoint. Not PowerPoint, but whoop, wrong chapter. I need chapter 8, don't I? And I need problem 27. Let's look at see how they had it. Okay, this was August sales. We didn't have to calculate that. But now in September, did we have the 32,000? All right, we had the 32,000 September. Now we'd have to go back and get the 37 from August, which we didn't do that. Now, September credit sales, when we did that 12%, what did we get, Monique? We getting, I may have got off there somewhere. Then let's see where we went wrong. Here is 60-20. Of that 80%, I'm trying to think. All right, 40% we collected in cash, no problem. No problem going back and getting last month's. We'll have to work on that one. But the way this book does this one, %, is 32. That leaves 48, right? I can't write 48 down. Credit sales was 48. All right, put down 48,000, Monique, and multiply it by 20%. That's the easier way. Okay. Now, if we collect in 32, that leaves 48, and we're going to collect 48 is the other 60%, and you multiply it by 20. So it's easier just to take the 48 times 20, because 60 times 80 is 48, and that will give you that next month. We're going to have to work on that. So, Monique, was I supposed to collect the problem today on that comprehensive number 58? Yeah, bonus. Turi has already sent that bonus to me. Thanks, Turi. Monique's going to have it here, and thanks, Monique. And, all right. So for Tuesday, I want you to work on some budgeting, starting back with the more simple ones. I want you to do 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's some budgets. 19, 21, 22, 23, and 26. Let's go ahead and do some cash collections. Try number 29. Okay, you're free to go if you've done all this work today, and I'll take your bonus. Remember, I'll still take that bonus today if you email it to number what on it? Number 58. Okay, folks, I'll have a good weekend, and hopefully I'll see more of you on Tuesday.